But here's the point. I don't even get into that game. I'm just living my life, man. It's something that I'm just living my life. And I'm doing the best that I can and doing it in a way that I feel is right.
Imagine discovering that the fearless pilot from Top Gun, the daredevil who clings to skyscrapers with his bare hands, spent decades with invisible strings tied to a secretive church determined to script his every move.
So what do you say? We need to clean this place up? Huh?
Yeah! Tom Cruise wasn't simply a Hollywood superstar. He was a man caught in a high-stakes tug-of-war between boundless ambition and an organization willing to risk everything to control him. Wiretaps on his wife, clandestine auditions for girlfriends, public meltdowns that sent his reputation into a freefall. Yet, against all odds, he keeps soaring, now planning to shoot a film in orbit.
Another shot at Mission Impossible. Actor Tom Cruise, Elon Musk's SpaceX, and NASA have teamed up to shoot a movie in outer space.
How did he survive the chaos and come out on top? Stay with me, because the truth behind Tom Cruise's rise, fall, and jaw-dropping resurrection is far wilder than any stunt he's ever pulled on screen. Before the red carpets and roaring jet engines, there was only a scrawny kid named Thomas Cruise Mapother bouncing between 15 schools in 14 years, while poverty gnawed at his family. His father, a man he later called a chaos merchant, didn't just discipline. He struck with fists that left bruises on skin and confidence alike. Home never felt safe, so young Tom hunted for refuge elsewhere, mowing lawns, selling postcards, anything to scrape together spare change and a sense of worth. Yet, the frequent moves carved something unexpected into him, a restless hunger to prove himself. That hunger first flared in a Canadian drama class. Under dusty stage lights, he found an audience that listened instead of lashed out. And for the first time, the boy who could barely sit still discovered a place where his kinetic energy felt like power, not trouble. But stability was a mirage. His parents' marriage fractured. His father vanished behind a cancer diagnosis. And the Catholic seminary Tom briefly attended expelled him for swigging liquor after lights out. Even then, rules felt like cages, and cages were meant to be broken. Back in New Jersey for senior year, he clung to football, yet got benched for drinking before a game. Every misstep whispered the same brutal lesson. If Tom didn't seize control of his own story, someone else would. Graduation arrived in 1980 with no money, no father, and no plan. Only a relentless spark shouting, "Run." So he ran. Straight to New York City, where dreams cost everything and give back even more if you dare to chase them. New York City in 1980 was no place for daydreamers, yet Tom Cruise thundered into Manhattan clutching a suitcase, a bus ticket, and a vow to never crawl back home. He waited tables by night, pounding the pavement by day, radar locking onto every cattle call audition within subway range. Rejection piled high, but each no only sharpened his resolve. Then fate cracked open. Creative Artists Agency noticed the raw voltage hidden behind that boyish grin and rolled the dice. A blink later, he squeezed into a Blink and You'll Miss It role in Endless Love, 1981, and snagged a bigger splash in Taps. But those were only tremors of what was coming. It was 1983's risky business that detonated everything, when Tom slid across the floor in nothing but socks and defiance. Audiences felt a cultural aftershock. Hollywood's newest supernova had arrived. Studios lined up scripts like Dominoes, The Outsiders, All the Right Moves, each one amplifying his magnetism. Yet stardom only fed a deeper obsession, to push beyond acting and own every thrill on screen. That fixation reached terminal velocity in 1986. Producers of Top Gun strapped him into an F-14 Tomcat for a little demonstration, and the jet's gut-wrenching barrel rolls left him vomiting into a sick bag while laughing like it was Christmas morning. By touchdown, Tom was hooked. The role of Maverick wasn't just accepted, it was conquered. He trained on motorcycles, studied fighter pilot swagger, and, yes, wore hidden lifts, so his co-star Kelly McGillis wouldn't tower over him on camera. Proof that even 6-foot egos can sprout from 5'7" frames. Top Gun blasted past $350 million and carved Cruise's name into pop culture bedrock. But beneath the roar of jet engines, another force was gathering, one that promised ultimate self-mastery, yet demanded unwavering obedience. And that meeting, in the shadows of Hollywood's bright lights, would change his life forever. Hollywood crowned him a king, but it was a late-night poker game in 1986, with actress Mimi Rogers dealing, where Tom Cruise met the power that would eclipse every studio boss he'd ever fear. Mimi didn't just shuffle cards. She spoke of Scientology as a cosmic cheat code for life. No more self-doubt, no more dyslexia, just pure mastery of mind and fate. Tom, still nursing wounds from a father who called him worthless, felt lightning strike. What if this was the key? Within weeks, he was auditing for hours, confessing secrets to screens that blinked back higher level achieved, convinced he'd found the cockpit controls of the universe. The church moved fast. Celebrity center doors swung open like a VIP lounge in heaven. And leader David Miscavige treated Tom not as recruit, but prophet in waiting. Private tours, personal briefings, whispered assurances that he, not Hollywood, could change the planet. It felt intoxicating, almost righteous, till lines blurred between spiritual guidance and puppet strings. When Tom married Mimi in 1987, Scientology officiated. Their Hollywood home buzzed with Sea Org aides who catered, chauffeured, even rewired the house, free labor wrapped as devotion. After the split, the church choreographed a grander partnership, Nicole Kidman. They adopted Isabella and Connor through Scientology channels, and Miscavige became best man, literally, at Tom's side. Yet Nicole, devoutly Catholic and wary of e-meters dictating bedtime stories, pushed back. Rumors flared that phone calls were tapped, that private therapy notes landed on Miscavige's desk, all to gauge her loyalty. Friends say she felt the walls whisper. By the late 90s, as Tom catapulted through Mission, impossible press tours, insiders claimed the church auditioned potential girlfriends, ranking them not by chemistry but compliance. One hopeful, Nazanin Boniadi, later likened the process to white slavery. If true, Tom's love life had become a casting call run by clerics. Still, the star saw only salvation. Scientology, he said, cured his dyslexia. He'd never abandon those who saved him. But devotion came at a price, a widening gulf between Tom and anyone outside the faith, Nicole included. And when she finally walked away, the church doubled down, framing her exit as proof that she, like so many, simply couldn't handle Tom's destined greatness. Yet Hollywood would soon see that the church's influence over its brightest star wasn't content to stay backstage. The summer of 2005 should have been Tom Cruise's victory lap. War of the Worlds was primed to dominate box offices. And he'd just unveiled a whirlwind romance with Katie Holmes that had gossip magazines practically combusting. Instead, the world watched him ignite his own image on live television. It started innocently on the Oprah Winfrey Show, until Tom vaulted onto the couch, fists pumping, roaring that he was in love, while Oprah's audience shrieked. Viewers at home didn't see romance. They saw mania. Headlines the next morning didn't read Top Gun returns. They read, Cruise loses it. Yet the couch jumping was just the opening act. Weeks later, Tom strode on to NBC's Today Show and squared off with Matt Lauer about psychiatric medication. The star who once saved the world on screen now lectured millions that antidepressants were a fraud, psychiatry a pseudoscience. When Lauer challenged him, Tom's eyes narrowed, voice rising. He dismissed decades of medical research with the certainty of a zealot. Mental health advocates recoiled. Doctors blasted his claims as dangerous. Brooke Shields, fresh from postpartum depression, fired back, saying Tom's words were a disservice to struggling mothers. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Audiences felt betrayed, studios panicked, and the media framed him as a mouthpiece for Scientology's most radical doctrines. Inside Hollywood boardrooms, executives whispered that Cruise had become radioactive. Paramount's Sumner Redstone famously severed a 14-year partnership, declaring Tom's off-screen antics had cost the studio $150 million. It was shocking. A megastar publicly dropped not for poor ticket sales, but for tarnishing his own brand. Even Steven Spielberg, one of Tom's fiercest allies, grew distant after Scientology protesters targeted a psychiatrist friend mentioned during War of the Worlds press. Suddenly, doors that once swung open for Tom began to creak shut. And yet, beneath the avalanche of criticism, Cruise claimed he'd never felt stronger. because the church assured him he was battling a corrupt system. To the faithful, his defiance was heroic. To the rest of the planet, it looked like career suicide in slow motion. Tom apologized privately to Brooke Shields. But the damage lingered. Magazine covers morphed from Hollywood's golden boy to Is Tom Cruise finished? Late-night hosts feasted on his every misstep. The stakes had never been higher. One wrong move and the greatest action hero of his generation could vanish from marquee lights forever. But Tom had never been one to accept impossible odds. His next play would decide whether he crashed for good or engineered the most daring comeback Hollywood had ever seen. Tom Cruise had been battered on every front, public trust eroded, studios wary, late-night comics circling like sharks. Lesser stars would have disappeared into safe roles or soft rebrands. Tom did the opposite. He gambled his entire legacy on a single, breathtaking truth. Audiences might doubt his words, but they still believed in his stunts. So he greenlit Mission Impossible 3 and threw himself into danger with a zeal that bordered on reckless. No stunt double would dangle from Shanghai skyscrapers. No CGI would cushion explosions. Every peril on screen would be his. The message was unmistakable. Mock my beliefs all you want, but watch me outrun death in real time. Critics, braced for disaster, found themselves mesmerized. The film raked in nearly $400 million and, more importantly, proved that the Tom Cruise brand was still box office plutonium when tethered to raw spectacle. Behind the scenes, he made an even bolder play. Ditching the customary $20 million paycheck, he negotiated for a massive slice of the profits. The move screamed confidence and paid off exponentially. Studios suddenly remembered why they once called him the most bankable actor alive. Yet reclamation demanded more than numbers. Tom's longtime publicist, Pat Kingsley, famed for keeping stars out of tabloids, had quit amid the 2005 firestorm, replaced briefly by his Scientologist sister. It looked like the church's grip was tightening. But within a year, Tom pivoted again, hiring veteran Paul Block of Rogers & Cowan to retake control of his narrative. Red carpet appearances turned smooth, interviews grew measured. The wild-eyed couch jumper was replaced by a meticulously composed action icon. Then came Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, 2011. At 49, Tom scaled Dubai's Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth, clinging to glass more than half a mile above the desert. The image of him sprinting across that dizzying facade obliterated memories of televised meltdowns. It was daring, it was real, and it was undeniably Tom. The movie thundered past $690 million, breaking franchise records, and silencing those who'd typed "Cruise is over" just a few years earlier. Finally, Forbes crowned him most influential celebrity, while Japan declared an official Tom Cruise Day. The world hadn't simply forgiven him, it celebrated his audacity. Still, victory came with a steep price. Devotion to Scientology had deepened, and his marriage to Katie Holmes teetered under its weight. He'd won Hollywood back, but the next battle would strike far closer to home. By 2005, Tom Cruise seemed untouchable, box office gold, newly minted action icon, and head over heels for an actress who'd plastered his posters on her childhood bedroom wall. Katie Holmes walked into a Hollywood party, and within weeks, the world watched Tom erupt in that now infamous couch leap on Oprah. The romance felt supercharged, almost scripted, and many insiders whispered it was. Former Scientologists later alleged that the church had auditioned women for Tom after Nicole Kidman. Nazanin Boniadi claimed her own courtship felt like white slavery. Yet the wide-eyed Katie was the one who fit. Tom moved at warp speed. He proposed atop the Eiffel Tower, bought a $200,000 ultrasound machine so they could monitor the baby at home. Medical professionals howled in protest and insisted on a silent birth in line with church doctrine. No screams, just whispered encouragement. Tabloids devoured every detail. When Suri Cruise arrived in April 2006, paparazzi helicopters buzzed their Beverly Hills roof. Vanity Fair paid a record sum for first photos. 6 months later, the wedding unfolded in an Italian castle with David Miscavige, Scientology's leader, as best man. To many, it looked less like a union and more like a coronation. But marriage inside the church came with invisible handcuffs. Friends noticed Katie's schedule. Press junkets, photo ops, family appearances was choreographed by handlers in matching suits. Rumors flared that phone calls with her Catholic parents were monitored, that she was assigned a Scientology minder around the clock. Leah Remini later claimed Katie whispered an apology when the actress dared question church protocols at the wedding dinner. Proof, Remini said, that Katie felt trapped. Behind the fairy tale facade, Katie plotted an escape worthy of a spy thriller. She used disposable phones, switched bodyguards, and timed her legal filings for maximum surprise. On June 29, 2012, while Tom was filming Oblivion in Iceland, news exploded. Katie had filed for divorce in New York, far from California's church-friendly courts, and demanded sole custody of Suri. It was stunning. A lightning strike that left even Tom reeling. In just 11 days, a settlement emerged. Katie kept primary custody, Tom secured visitation, and he would pay roughly $400,000 a year in child support plus millions in expenses. The church publicly wished them well, but former members claimed Katie was instantly labeled a suppressive person, Scientology's version of enemy of the state. Tom's relationship with Suri faded into tabloid sightings. Some reports say they haven't been photographed together in years. For the second time, devotion to Scientology had cost Tom a marriage and this round daily life with his daughter. The heart of Hollywood's ultimate action hero lay scorched. Could he channel that pain into yet another reinvention? Or was the legend finally running on fumes? Tom Cruise could have retreated, licked wounds, guarded wealth, let history soften the sharp edges of scandal. Instead, he did what Tom Cruise always does. He sprinted straight at the impossible. Within a year of the divorce, he was hanging from the side of an Airbus A400M in Mission Impossible. Rogue Nation, fingers clenched to metal as the plane thundered off the runway. There was no green screen safety net, just industrial adhesive on his palms and a prayer that the door wouldn't blow open at 300 miles per hour. The shot made audiences gasp and trust in the legend again. Yet adrenaline alone doesn't mend a fractured image. Tom needed roles that proved he could carry more than spectacle. Enter the sci-fi double punch, Oblivion, 2013, and Edge of Tomorrow, 2014. In the first, he played a lone tech rebuilder on a ravaged Earth. In the second, a doomed soldier stuck in a time loop, dying 100 brutal deaths before saving humanity. Critics who once scoffed at Couch Guy suddenly hailed his commitment, calling the latter performance his smartest in years. Box office tallies roared past $500 million combined, signaling a full-scale resurrection. Then came Mission Impossible, Fallout 2018, the film that asked, can a 56-year-old really outrun, outclimb, and outfight men half his age? Tom's answer, watch me Halo, jump from 25,000 feet, break my ankle leaping between London rooftops, and keep sprinting until the director yells cut. Fallout banked $791 million, the franchise's biggest haul, while YouTube compilations of his injuries racked up millions of views. Pain had become part of the marketing, proof that Cruise never fakes commitment. But he wasn't done. Top Gun, Maverick, 2022, reunited audiences with Pete Mitchell. Now older, scarred, but still addicted to G-forces. Tom insisted co-stars learn to withstand 8Gs, so cockpit footage would be genuine, even designing a custom training program with Navy pilots. The gamble paid off in thunderous style, $1.5 billion worldwide, a communal roar from fans who felt real flight in every frame. Headlines flipped from, is Cruise finished, to, can anyone match him? Then, because Earth apparently grew dull, NASA and SpaceX announced a collaboration that sounds ripped from Cruise fan fiction. A narrative feature shot aboard the International Space Station. Insurance brokers nearly fainted. Moviegoers cheered. Tom just grinned. The boy who outran poverty, now literally leaving the planet. Between stunt rehearsals, he kept a surprisingly soft beat, dropping $5,000 into an injured girl's charity jar at a Dairy Queen, sending annual coconut cakes to former co-stars, donating millions to disaster relief. All quiet gestures that rarely make the press releases, yet remind insiders he can still be that generous kid from Syracuse. Through it all, Scientology never loosened its embrace. but the fresh triumphs muted its shadows. To the public, Tom Cruise is once again the embodiment of cinematic audacity. Proof that risk, resilience, and raw spectacle can rewrite any headline. Yet even as he preps to rocket beyond the stratosphere, one question still simmers. Has the mission been accomplished, or is the next freefall already waiting beyond the clouds? Tom Cruise stands on the ledge of destiny again. Contracts are signed, modules reserved, and sometime soon, the roar that lifts him skyward won't come from a jet engine, but a SpaceX Falcon 9 hurtling toward the International Space Station. The plot of the yet untitled film remains locked behind NDAs. But one fact is clear: Tom will float 250 miles above Earth, cameras rolling, every heartbeat transmitted to IMAX screens. It's Hollywood's first feature truly shot in space, and the insurance premium alone could bankrupt a small studio. Yet Tom has always gambled bigger than anyone else dared. If Maverick redefined aerial cinema, this will redraw the very edge of filmmaking. While he trains in centrifuges and scuba tanks to prep for zero-G, he's also quietly cementing a legacy down here. A stream of million-dollar donations flows to children's hospitals, disaster relief funds, and education programs. Former co-stars still post photos of the fabled Cruise coconut cake, a yearly delivery that tastes like thank you and nostalgia in equal measure. Even critics admit the man who once seemed unhinged now shepherds gigantesque productions with military precision and treats every crew member, from grip to gaffer, like family. Yet the specter of Scientology never drifts far. Whispers persist that each box office triumph doubles as propaganda for the church, that every impossible stunt is another proof of faith. Leah Remini swears Tom's charisma masks complicity. Church defectors claim he's second only to David Miscavige in influence. Tom answers only through action, vaulting off cliffs in Norway, racing helicopters through mountain passes, and greeting fans for hours at premieres, signing until his hand cramps. Audiences don't just forgive the controversies, they flock to witness sheer, unfiltered human daring. Still, as launch day approaches, one question refuses to stay grounded. When the rocket flame fades and he's weightless above the planet, will Tom finally feel free? Or will those cosmic minutes reveal that the tether he's never cut isn't gravity, but the invisible doctrine guiding each breath? Even in the silence of orbit, the battle for control may echo louder than mission alarms. Whatever truth unfolds, history will record this. A bullied kid from Syracuse transformed chaos into fuel, turned ridicule into record-shattering spectacle, and showed the world that limits are merely suggestions waiting to be shattered. The next time you glance at the night sky, remember, somewhere up there, a Hollywood legend is rewriting what it means to chase a dream. And he's still not done running. Tom Cruise's life reads like a script too wild for Hollywood. A bruised child forging armor from adversity, a meteoric rise that seduced the world, a plunge into controversy where loyalty and freedom blurred, and a resurrection powered by stunts so raw they make gravity flinch. He's sprinted across skyscraper glass, fist-fought time loops, and soon he'll float above Earth itself. Yet the tug-of-war between unshakable faith and absolute autonomy still rages in the vacuum of space. Did he finally cut every invisible string, or did he simply learn to pull them himself? One thing is certain: whenever the world dares to say impossible, Tom Cruise laces up, scans the horizon, and runs. The question now is, what boundary will he demolish next, and will we have the courage to follow?